Hello everyone, this is Michelle Howard back with Live Out Loud Coaching. I'm going to provide today Reconstructive Thought Surgery Part 2. I also want to thank Health Solutions for allowing me the time and place to provide this for you. All right, so last month we talked about Part 1, and I talked about that our brains are a record of the past. Your thoughts are the vocabulary of your brain, and your feelings the vocabulary of your body. Also, that it's not the events in our lives that make us feel a certain way, but yet how we think and believe about those events. And lastly, I encouraged you to select a task that you really don't like to do or something that you're not consistent with. And I asked that you try to do that one thing every single day for 45 days. All right, so we're going to talk today about reframing our thoughts. If our brains are that record of the past, then because of that, our thinking is programmed so that we react to most things in our life based on old thinking. These could include our perceptions. Our perceptions really are our reality, and those create our attitudes and expectations and even our assumptions. So we really need to realize that really nothing has any meaning except the meaning we assign to it. There are people who are very successful in this world, and then there are those who really seem to just get by. But how do we explain this? It's because our beliefs create our reality, and the successful have a much different set of thoughts and beliefs than those who are just getting by. So I made a list here of some typical negative thought patterns. I can't do that. What if it doesn't work? These are the types of thoughts that we need to reframe. So if you have a thought and belief paradigm that is negative, skeptical, or fear-based, you will always be limited in life. The first thing you must do is explore your beliefs and thought habits. Do you have beliefs that you rely on to protect you? Sometimes we feel that they are protecting us. Or do you have these thought patterns because your parents or friends had them? Or have you experienced hurtful things in your life that you just can't seem to get past, and they just really seem to lead you through difficult times? Explore your typical thoughts and beliefs and ask, are my beliefs protecting me or limiting me? Most of the time, they limit us because we have a false sense of security in them. In reality, though, we don't tap into our potential or even pursue our dreams because we think that we're going to fail. The reality is not a protective belief system. It's a limiting system. Many of our beliefs and thoughts were shaped for us, typically as children, as we were growing up and being around, family and friends and everybody else that we were exposed to and their belief patterns. So we didn't really know how to run our minds for ourselves and think for ourselves. I mean, as a kid, really, who does? But as an adult, are you getting what you've wanted in life? And if not, why? We create our own reality based on what we believe and what we give our focus to. So let's reframe these thoughts. All right, so how do we reframe thoughts? Well, whatever our thoughts are, it's typically the opposite of that. So if you think you can't do that, well, then tell yourself, I can do that. If it doesn't work, well, what if it doesn't? But what if it does? That would be great, right? So just reframe your thoughts. I always win. I can make this happen. Believe in yourself, because you now have to reprogram your beliefs. And I would suggest that you reframe your specific beliefs and repeat the reframe to yourself over and over and over throughout the day, and even at night right before going to sleep. The power of association. We interpret most of our world through our five senses, right? What we see, hear, feel, taste, touch. Much of what we've experienced in life is now linked and locked into our emotions and our memories. So just imagine that you're driving down the highway and it's a nice, beautiful day. You have your favorite music on and you're just cruising, having a great day. And you look up in that rearview mirror and you see red and blue lights. Well, what happens, right? All of a sudden, your heart and your stomach trade places. You start to get a little bit nervous and anxious. Your heart rate goes up. You're having a physiological response to this thing. But why would you? Because typically we associate that with that we've done something wrong. They wouldn't be stopping me if I weren't doing anything wrong. Also, what memories are triggered by a certain song or smell? Are they good memories or bad? What do you feel emotionally when you have those experiences? Our senses and emotions are so powerful that something needs to happen only once for that trigger to be anchored in us for a lifetime. So think about, too, how we're drawn in when we're walking into a store during Christmas time, all the smells and bells that may trigger the feeling of being home with family, baking, Christmas music, family photos, anything that would associate that holiday for you. And some others may not have a good feeling around that time of year. Maybe they've lost somebody or have had a hurtful event happen around that time, and so they're not as cracked up about it as most of the world. So the power of associations mean that we also, though, can create our own experiences that will give us great memories and feelings, and we can create those based on and through our 5 senses. All right, our 4 Ps. I like to talk about these 4 Ps quite often. And I'm going to start with perceptions, because we really see the world only through our lens. And so we have to ask ourselves, what are my perceptions? What are my perceptions of myself? Do I really think that I am capable? Am I confident in myself? Do I trust myself? What are my perceptions of certain situations? That's pretty vague, but because there's a lot of situations. But what are your perceptions of certain things, of certain consequences even, or trying times? Whatever we perceive to be is really going to be our reality. Then based on that reality, we have procedures about how we operate, right? Everything is how we operate. How do you react? How do you respond? Are there places you'll go and places you won't? Times you'll go and times you won't? What are these procedures that you hold yourself to? These are your ways of doing things, your ways of operating. And then once you do those long enough, those become your patterns, those become your habitual behaviors. And then the purpose sometimes is created by default. So why are you doing what you do day in and day out? Sometimes the only reason we're doing what we're doing today is because it's what we did yesterday. What I like to teach is that if we take that purpose and put it in the number 1 spot and create that purpose for ourselves, we define it. We don't let life just show up and define it. We do. What are you passionate about? What do you want to do? And then let that be the purpose. When you find your passion and your purpose, your perceptions then are going to be forced to change, because you cannot perceive life in the same way that you did, because you'll get the same thing that you got. So your perceptions have to change. Like a domino effect, if your perceptions change, then your procedures will change. And when those procedures change and you get into different routines, you get into different thought habits, then your patterns are going to change, and you're going to create a whole different system of the way you are, the way you do things, your habitual behaviors. Okay, so that's the next challenge for you, I guess, or my encouragement to you, is to really contemplate your purpose, what you're passionate about, what kind of change agent can you be in this world for others. And then to recondition that vision. So here's where you decide what you want, and then you have to develop this vision for yourself and recondition that, because the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. In fact, to illustrate the proof of this, have you ever woken up from a dream crying? That dream was something that just hit you in a way, maybe it was a dream of a loved one, and or anything that would cause you to cry. But the dream wasn't real. The dream wasn't real at all, but it caused your brain to fire in a psychological way that produced the physical and emotional reaction, bringing you to tears. So you must change the program by telling yourself a new story. Right? The past is gone. We can learn lessons from the past, but we can't live there. It's time to rediscover and change. So closing your eyes, recondition your vision. What is that vision? Then close your eyes for 5 to 10 minutes, 3 or 4 times a day, and picture what your life looks like when your changes are already made. And then rehearse that in your mind. It's a mental rehearsal tactic and technique that you rehearse it in your mind. You see yourself going through the motions. You imagine what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're gaining. You imagine also and feel what you're feeling. What emotions are there? And what are your thoughts? So practice these things in your mind and then apply them also in your real world. Do this intentionally and consistently in order to send a strong message to your nervous system that you're serious about change. Our nervous system doesn't always believe us. Because we can talk and talk and talk and say what we're going to try to do and what we'd like to do and everything like that, but we're not feeling it because our central nervous system is not feeling it. Our nervous system is saying, yeah, right, we've heard that before, save it. So get real. Getting real means really being mind productive and imagining what you're going through, what your new life looks like, what your changes look like and feel like, and also, how your world will change by having those things made, having those changes made. Okay. So apply that in your physical and psychological environment, and imagine the changes needed for you to be successful. And until next time, be safe, and I will, in the meantime, be working on your part 3. Have a great day.